to Turkey, but that didn't work. But now they found another partner again to resuscitate the Kaduna textiles. Federal government, you know, we have what we call the cotton, textile and garment policy that we're working very closely with. We've also noted that to bring in the kind of investment that we need need to have a review of the policy. And this is going to involve investors like Velisco and Rui, who are coming into Kaduna State and Lagos State as well. So that's something that it's a process we've started going on, because we want to allow this investment to come in. We also have to engage the various stakeholders in the cotton and textile garment industry because of the changes that will have to come. We have a poor cotton history now. The last few years, we've not been producing enough cotton to revive or to sustain what the industries are. And if we're going to go on a big drive for investment to come into the CTG sector, then we need to be able to show that we would be able to produce the kind of cotton with the kind of yield that will sustain these investments when they come in. So that's an angle where we're discussing partnerships with Kaduna State in particular. And I know also with the gas pipeline that is coming on, that again, there would be energy to that, to the cluster, to the zone, the textile zone in Kaduna State. So we are hoping that by the end of this year, there won't be an issue of energy, and that will be taken care of. Luckily, again, the textile industries in Kaduna are all located in the industrial zone. So it's in one place, and they already have water and good access routes, so that's not a challenge. The major challenges have been the raw materials and the power, and we thank God that that's being resolved.
Thank you. Back to His Excellency the Governor. We've mostly talked about the cooperation between federal and state governments on the side of the executive. What about on the side of the legislature? How can better cooperation between the federal and state governments on the side of the legislature and lawmaking help to improve national development?
Well, I don't know much about the legislature and how it works, but I know that unless our legislatures collaborate as closely as we are doing with the federal government, again, we will not achieve our full potentials. Recently, we discovered in the process of dealing with constitutional amendments that there is actually a conference of speakers of state houses of assembly. So they have a club, just as we have the Nigeria Governors Forum. The speakers of the state houses of assembly also have what they call conference of speakers, and they meet regularly. They exchange views and ideas, but they do not interface as aggressively, as regularly with the national legislature as we do with the national government. When the National Assembly passed a set of constitutional amendments, we met as governors, looked at the amendments and had some views on some of them. And we met also the Conference of Speakers and had a debate and took common positions before the bills were considered by our state houses of assembly. And that interaction between the Nigeria Governors Forum and the Conference of Speakers, I found personally very, very enlightening, very educating, and something that we should be doing regularly. And indeed, the Nigeria Governors Forum resolved that it will be having an interactive session with the Conference of Speakers every 3 months. My recommendation, strong recommendation, is that the Conference of Speakers should also try to be engaging with the leadership of the National Assembly and perhaps meet with them quarterly just to exchange views and ensure that when laws are passed at the federal level, they can be quickly domesticated at the state level. Because many of the laws that are passed by the National Assembly are not applicable to the states. unless it is an area in which the federal government is exclusively given the right under the Constitution to legislate, we would have to domesticate it to apply. An example of a very good legislation that has not been fully domesticated in all this, the Child Rights Act, for instance. So, but I believe that if there was more interaction, more cooperation between state legislature and the national legislature, many of these problems would be minimized.
Okay, just finally, sir, you've been very successful in attracting investment into Kaduna, both from international development partners, the private sector, and even the federal government. What are you doing differently? What can others learn from what you're doing?
I don't know whether there is a silver bullet or there is a quick answer to that. All we know in Kaduna State is that from day one we tried to identify what the problems of the state are and proceeded to assemble a very good team. I am quite pleased to notice that most people that come to Kaduna are struck by two facts. The fact that our cabinet and our team of parastatal heads are mostly young. And the second fact also is that there is a large percentage of women in our government. These are partly deliberate decisions to involve more young people, because 89% of Kaduna's population is below the age of 35. Plus 50% of the population is women. So we felt very, very strongly that we must push women onto the governance agenda, and we must have more and more young people. And what is interesting for me is that these young men and women are very hardworking, they are competent, and most of our success in the Kaduna State government is attributable to their leadership rather than our leadership, and I'm very proud of them. So I think that is all I can I can say to my colleagues. The world is going digital, the world is mobile, the world is getting younger, and old guys like me that have difficulty programming a cell phone need to start moving away and give way to the younger generation. And we are trying to do that in Kaduna State, not by displacement, but by getting bright young people and giving them opportunities, allowing them to make mistakes, and training them so that they will be the next generation of leaders. That's what we've been doing, and I think that's about the only thing we are doing differently. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll bring this particular panel to a close. I'd like you to please join me in thanking the Honorable Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment, Ajia Aisha Abubakar. And also the Honorable Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, Ajia Zainab Ahmed. And finally, our host, the Governor of Kaduna State, Malam Nasir Ahmad Arufai. Thank you very much, and God bless.
Is the second plenary session that just taking place there, with the theme Partnership between the federal and state governments for national development. We had two ministers there, the Honorable Minister of State for Budget and National Planning, the Honorable Minister of State for Industry, Trade and Investment. And that session was chaired and moderated by Dr. Joe Abba, who is the Country Director, Nigeria, Development Alternatives International. As they make their way from the podium right now, we will be going back to the stage for the MC to take us through the program to the next point on the agenda. A very stimulating